So the NYPD was put on full blast over the last couple of days for posting and then deleting something on Twitter, which I think perfectly puts into full display exactly who the police actually protect and serve. And it is not average communities around the United States. It is in fact the capitalist class. So this is what they posted and then deleted after there was immediate backlash for posting it. They say, after receiving numerous larceny complaints in the Bronx, officers from the 44th precinct recently arrested 12 individuals following an enforcement initiative targeting shoplifters, and the arrests made led to the closure of 23 warrants and the recovery of $1,800 worth of merchandise. $1,800. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of quick math here. So $1,800 divided by 12 individuals who were arrested. So $150 per arrest. Okay, they already spend significantly multiple times more than that just to make the arrest. Okay, so wasting taxpayer dollars in the first place. But 12 individuals, $150 each. And what did they steal exactly? Well, if you go and look at the picture down here, it is very clearly, pretty much entirely, at least basic life necessities, but almost entirely baby supplies. Okay, you can see they got like Huggies diapers back here. They have some, baby wipes. They have some, even some baby food, some medicine down here, some detergent, and then you got some, soap and other supplies. So all basic life necessities specifically for children. Okay, and this is what the NYPD decided to post on their official account, bragging about this as if they did something good for the community. I mean, this is how deranged their mindset actually is. Okay, and it again gives you a full perspective in terms of who they actually serve. They serve the corporations within New York City, not average citizens. Okay, if you were actually serving the people, you would not be stealing their desperately needed baby supplies from them. Okay, shouldn't really have to go without saying, basically. But this is not the first example of this type of post that we have gotten from police here in the United States. We've also had gems like this one, as pointed out here by Alec. He says, the two images that best describe the budget priorities of the U.S. police bureaucracy: Alabama cops celebrating a fun quilt they made from the signs of unhoused people begging for money. I mean, Jesus Christ, what kind of a demon do you have to be to not only take these signs from people, but then morph it into some sort of like a perverted art project and then pose in front of it as if you did something good, right? Okay, you didn't solve the problem of homelessness. You just went out there, stole from homeless people, harassed them, maybe you even locked them up, and then turned around and posed with their signs as if you did something good. You didn't do anything good. You are terrorizing these communities, and yet they're standing here, posing for this proudly. Okay, and again, that example that we just saw, but there are many other examples that we could point to. This was one of the most laughable ones that I saw throughout the entire course of the pandemic, but again, puts it in full perspective who they actually serve. Portland police guard dumpsters. Portland police guard dumpsters to stop people from taking discarded food. And they say grocery store employees were forced to discard thousands of items after winter storms ravaged Oregon and caused widespread power outages. So you're in the middle of a winter storm where people just lost, power to their houses. They're probably in desperate, urgent need of food. And you have police not going out there and, delivering food to people and actually protecting and serving these communities, but they choose to go and guard dumpsters. Literal trash. They are choosing to guard dumpsters from people who are trying to go and collect food for themselves and their families. Again, puts it in full perspective. They don't even really try to hide it. Okay, the U.S. police and police in general, they exist to protect the interests of capital. That is it. They do not protect and serve your communities or any communities. They exist to protect capital. That's purely it, and you can see that by the fact that they're choosing to guard dumpsters instead of allowing people to just go get access to food that was literally being discarded. But we had some more takes here, just to give you more of a perspective in terms of even when they get things that are nominally crimes. Okay, they'll post shit like this all the time. Again, the official NYPD news account here saying, gang members arrested and drugs recovered by NYPD PSA 9 officers, keeping Flushing Queens safe. That's NYPD protecting. Okay, obviously they got absolutely ratioed in this, deservingly so. But I mean, what the fuck did you just collect here? What you got? Let's see, 20, 40, 60 bucks, 90 bucks, $100 in cash. Okay, so you got $100 in cash, some little white tiny dosage packages here of I don't know what the hell kind of drug that is, but then you got a couple small bags of like half-ounce bags of weed here. So this is the type of shit that they are pretending like they're solving problems within the community. This is not a problem in the community. I'm sorry, a guy who's carrying $100 in cash and a couple bags of weed is not exactly the threat to the community that you should be going out there and bragging about. If anything, this is just more evidence we should be ending the war on drugs, because I guarantee you they spent more money trying to arrest this person and throwing them in prison for a minor drug offense than they did actually seizing these assets in the first place. But I mean, again, just completely ridiculous and pathetic. We should be ending the war on drugs. We shouldn't be criminalizing people who want to go and get discarded food. We should be providing food as a guaranteed human right. And the same goes obviously for baby supplies. Shouldn't really, need to be said on any of those fronts. But you see how the police don't actually help society in any way, shape, or form. They are literally just acting on behalf of the state and on behalf of capital to protect their entrenched interests. But we had AOC here with a good take on this. She said, "When I talk about violent conditions, this is what I mean. But hey, it's much easier to frame people who steal baby formula and merchandise and medicine as monsters to be jailed than acknowledge our politics and economic priorities create conditions where people steal baby formula to survive." And she gets very specific with something I covered earlier in this day, the expiration of the child tax credit. She says, "The child tax credit expired on December 31st, and it was many people's lifeline to feed and clothe their kids. Politicians let it expire overnight without a shrug, but now want to feed into their sensationalism around crime, acting like shoplifting has nothing to do with their actions." So again, she's basically pointing out something that I talk about all the time on this channel. Police do not solve or prevent crimes, okay? If they did, then New York City would have approximately zero crime. It would be the safest city on the entire face of the planet. Why do I know that? Because they currently have a budget and basically a size that is equivalent to the 33rd largest military spender on the planet. So you have basically a standing army in your police force here in the NYPD. $6 billion budget, significantly more than any other US city and any other city on the face of the planet. So if there was going to be a correlation between increased police resources and decreasing crime, you would see it in a city like in New York City, but they don't see it because police do not reduce crime. You know what actually reduces crime is addressing people's economic insecurities, is making sure that people have sustainable access to housing, to high quality food and water, and basic supplies for themselves and their families. That's how you reduce crime as a society. You don't do it by creating a police state and flooding military equipment to the NYPD. That's not how you solve crime if you were actually serious about it, but unfortunately, they are not serious about it in New York City. So here from Joshua Potash, he points out that the NYPD, seeing the NYPD tweet about getting stolen diapers, formula, and baby food off our streets, then seeing that Mayor Eric Adams, the new mayor of New York City, a former police officer himself, wants to cut every department budget except the NYPD, is a good summary of how we fund police instead of basic human needs. And he's 100% correct here. And just to add insult to injury on the specifics of this situation, apparently, according to Elizabeth Greenberg here from The Appeal, she says that in this deleted tweet, according to the NYPD and the information they just provided me, the addresses of two of the people appear to be homeless shelters, and one is a 64-year-old woman. So again, not exactly like a criminal, organization or syndicate here that we're talking about. We're talking about, elderly women and people who were literally living in homeless shelters. So, great work, NYPD, you absolute useless pieces of shit. But again, the main point that I want to drive home here is you have this new mayor coming in who's pretending to be tough on crime, and he's going to be the one who solves this massive non-existent crime wave that has been taking over New York City and around the United States. And meanwhile, he's putting forward a budget that is slashing every other department in New York City other than the police, okay? Again, not exactly going to be an effective strategy because the police are not preventing crime in any way, shape, or form, okay? If anything, they're just creating the conditions that reinforce these crimes that we are seeing right now, right? You throw somebody in prison for stealing baby formula or for stealing diapers, you think that's going to improve society? You think that's going to improve their lives or make it easier for them to solve the problems that led to them stealing in the first place? No, of course it won't. So the police are completely useless on this front, and if you actually wanted to get serious and be tough on crime, then what you would do is you would do it in a compassionate way and recognize that crime actually doesn't stem from the amount of police on your roster or the amount of billions of dollars that in military equipment that you give to them over decades. The X factor that actually reduces crime in the long run is economic security, is making sure that everybody's bare necessities are taken care of so that they don't feel the need to go out and steal that shit, okay? It's very simple, but this is exactly why people call for defunding the police. It's not just a means of like a phrase or some sort of thing like that. It's about actual budget priorities, okay? He has the exact opposite priority of what defunding the police would look like. We should be taking from these budgets and using them to reinforce our other social safety nets and other programs, education programs, housing programs, etc. We should be putting that money and resources towards those programs because they will actually not only help people, but they will actually reduce crime in the long run.